But I think it is a game that, it literally is going to hinge on that mistake. That maybe that bad poor decision. It's going to be that close because the teams are in such similar type of form.
Welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And on Saturday afternoon, Birmingham travelled to Carrow Road to take on Norwich, back in the Championship campaign after the drama of the FA Cup last Sunday afternoon. Now, since the new year, both teams have found some good form, so I'm expecting quite a good and tight competitive game. And in this video, we're going to talk about the setup, what the formations might be, style of play, and of course, end it with a score prediction. So, Dad, is it worth talking about the game, or should we just talk about the East Coast?
Yeah, we love going to Norwich, don't we? Yeah, in my opinion, they've got the best beer in the country. I love the East Coast; it's a local one, but this isn't about beer; it's about the football, isn't it? They're coming into the game, Matt. Two teams in good form, as you mentioned. They've won 8 of the last 12 and 5 of the last 6, and it's really took them away from any danger. To be fair, they were never going to be in any danger, but they had a torrid start to the season. Really, really, really poor start to the season, and obviously Phillipe Clement has come in, really sorted them out, and it's going to be another one of those games that I think we say that they're tough. All away games in the Championship are tough, but we're actually coming to them at a point in time where they'll be very, very confident.
It's typical, isn't it, Dad? I was hoping we were going to lift that 2002 Carrow Road curse, but they've just found form again. I say just, they found it sort of since Clement's come in, and he's completely changed them. Blues fans don't expect to play the Norwich we played at St.Andrews earlier in the season, because they are a completely different team now under Clement. So, they've had some big wins, Dad. They beat Coventry at home.
Yeah.
They beat Wrexham away. West Brom 5-0. QPR away. So they've had some really good results. And you know me, Dad, I like to do my research on the fans and look at their Twitter pages and stuff. So the most popular tweet off the back of the West Brom game, which was in the FA Cup this weekend, was, "Season is actually becoming enjoyable again. We have our Norwich back." And against Oxford in the midweek before that game, it was, "Give Clement whatever he wants. £1 billion, the River Wenson. It's all his if he wants it." So again, there seems to be a sense of renewed optimism. It seems like he's the right man to take them forward. And as I said, they're a club now looking up, not down.
Yeah.
All I'll take from my research and looking at Norwich since the new year is they are a completely changed outfit.
They are, but then so are we. We are a different team. I think we're actually stronger than now than when we played them at St.Andrews. I think that was Phillipe Clement's first game in charge was against us, which we beat them 4-1. But we've got to go into these games confident now. If we look at the way we played against Leeds, the way we really sort of pressed them, the way that we played some really decent football, and if you look at our new additions. This is why this game's going to be interesting. Maybe, before those additions, you'd think, it's going to be another one of those tough away games. I think we can get something out of this game, I do. And I know that they are on this run of good form and they're at home, but they're coming up against the Birmingham City side now. That'll be different for them as well. We're a different team than when we played them, definitely, but definitely, completely different from previous seasons. They play the same style as us. Phillipe Clement will play a 4-2-3-1, but I've looked at my research and I've watched Norwich quite a lot, actually. It's been on the telly a lot, don't they? They play a 4-2-3-1, but in possession, they tend to do a 2-3-5, so that they are, obviously, their wingers are also they're not wingers. They're left and right back.
Fullbacks, yeah.
Will push forward into midfield and into attack, a little bit like us, really. But out of possession, which I think is what's really changed them. This is where I believe has been the big difference for them. They almost go into a 4-4-2 out of possession, but when they do that, they do man to man aggressive marking. And I think that they've forced a lot of teams into mistakes, and I think that's been really, really fruitful for them. So, we obviously Chris Davis would have done his research on them to be aware of that. But I do see two teams that play a very similar system here.
Yeah.
And I think on the day it's going to come down to the team really that sort of presses best and adapts best to not making silly mistakes. I think it could be as close as that.
Also, he's got them doing the basics well again. Disciplined, compact at the back. They're hard to play against again, Norwich, because I always see Norwich as a difficult team to break down. I'm talking historically here over the last 5 years. They're pretty good compact defensively, aren't they, Norwich? And he's gone back to those basic principles. They build up well from the back. They kind of have apparently they describe it as a hybrid style in terms of they do like to hold on to possession. They will pass it, but they will go direct when the game needs it to as well. And I think that's what Clement's brought to them. He's intelligent manager, and he knows when to go a bit more direct, and he knows when to build up from the back and play that little bit more sort of possession-based football. But, they're going to be difficult to play against. That being the home team, there's no doubt about it. We've been to Carrow Road a few times, and it's always a tough place to go. But you're right, Dad. I think since the January transfer window, I said earlier, Norwich have a changed team. You're exactly right to call it as our Blues are a changed team.
Yeah.
You know, we are, and we play completely different now. You know, our wings are dynamic, we're quick, we're dangerous going forward. We're quite exciting to watch, dare I say now, you know.
It's solid in the midfield.
Solid in the midfield.
Solis in there has made a massive difference to stabilising that midfield. And those players that were sort of not as physically able have now been moved on. And we've got a much more physical team in there as well. I think that will make a big difference in this league as well.
And also, though, we maybe didn't give this player the credit he deserved off the back of the Panzo at the back. I thought he made us really solid with that left side of centre-back as well. So again, are we now looking at that Exeter League One moment moving forward in the Championship now with that solidarity at the back as well for Blues?
Yeah, somebody commented on that and said, I've lost a lot of disrespect for you two for not mentioning Panzo, and he called us a couple of jokers in the comment. I did respond politely, as we always do, just saying that, you know, when we do these podcasts, sometimes our conversation leads us down the road and we will forget things, you know, we can't remember everything. But I did get a very nice complimentary comment back from that person as well, apologising and saying it's been a little bit harsh. But Panzo, you know, and he's right to call it out. We should have mentioned Panzo because he was good, wasn't he, against Leeds?
I can't remember everything though, Dad. But you're right. You know, we should have called it out.
Fair enough. And I thought that when I reflected when I looked back at the edited version that you sent me, I thought we should have mentioned Panzo. But of course, you know, we just move on from comment to comment, don't we? But anyway, Panzo, I think hopefully he'll start. We'll come on to the Blues team in a minute. But again, strengths like you mentioned really as well. Their high strength is stealing the ball from opponents because of that aggressive press.
Yeah.
And that's something we've got to be very careful of. But we've been good at you know, working out of a press, haven't we? And that's where I think our chances come, because we've become less possession based now. Or no, not less possession based, but less of priority to have possession than previously, and that's enabled us to exploit other teams when we press them as well. And they like creating where they can. They will take line shots, but they are a footballing side. They will try and play for the middle, and they will try and play short passes. Again, not that they're as good at the moment of them, but I see lots of similarities in their style of play with what Middlesbrough do: short, sharp, quick move passing. And if that works, it works really, really well.
It does, because you bend teams out of shape, don't you? You know, when you get stuck in those little triangles in a positive way. I say stuck, that sounds like a negative word, but when you're doing those quick passes, triangles across the pitch, sometimes teams can't handle that.
No.
I think we're quite decently defensive shape-wise, actually. I think we'll be okay with it, but, you know, it's a way to really bend teams out of shape, isn't it? That short, crisp. They call it tick-attack football as well. You know, they sort of build up through the midfield. But what I like about Norwich, Dad, I'm going to pay them a compliment as well. I think their runs are intelligent, you know, when they're going forward and they're attacking. You know, they're really patient in build-up. And then I've watched Norwich a couple of times. It's like calm, balls in the net.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they really ramp up the gears quickly as well. Again, since Clement's come in, it's like calm, they've scored. It's like, where'd that come from? So I think we have to be wary of slow, patient build-up, but then when they turn it on and crank the gears up, they really get that ball moving quickly.
Yeah, we'll be wary of that. But I mean, like you said, Matt, I mean, they've made a massive change in form. They're second in the form table over 8 games. With Middlesbrough, at times recorded, Middlesbrough lost last night against Coventry. So Middlesbrough, they may even be the most informed team now over the last 8 games. They in terms of goals scored, they're about just below middle in terms of goals scored. They scored 42 goals, where we've scored 43. And in defence, they are 2/3 down the defence. They've conceded 42, where we've conceded 39. So there's not an awful lot in goals against for both teams. But you know, look at their. I think one of the signings of the season has been Jovo Makama. I've been rumoured to pay around about 1.2, 1.3 million from
Lincoln.
Yeah,
I remember him from last season.
Yeah, but he's really come on, hasn't he? He's scored 10 goals already.
Sometimes players need that rise. You know, when you're in League One or League Two or whatever, sometimes you need to go up a league to challenge yourself and produce what you're really capable of. And he looks like he's thrived in the Championship.
He's done very well, hasn't he? Next is Josh Sargent with 7 goals, but we know the issues with him because he wanted to leave, tried to force a move. And I think I don't know if he's on gardening leave or
on gardening, footballer on gardening leave.
He's just basically. I think he's been put out in the cold, hasn't he? With the
right.
I don't know. Maybe Norwich fans can clear that up for us about what's happening with Josh Sargent. But I've noticed he hasn't been seen in any.
Has he been put in
recent-
exile? Has he? Is he just just kind of been put to one side?
I don't know. But I mean, why would you want to put a player in your team that don't want to play for you?
Well, I would say, yeah, that is a very valid point, Dad. I wouldn't want anyone playing for Blues who didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. Even if they're Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, they don't want to play for Blues. I don't want them down there. I mean, I wouldn't mind Messi or Ronaldo, but Dad, and that's the thing, isn't it? And what I would say though is, I think when Norwich did play us at St.Andrews, Josh Sargent did actually look like that little glimmer of light. So he's a big player to miss. His value is somewhere between 10 and 20 million. That's a big window, but depending on who you are. I mean, he was rumoured to go. Wasn't a fee agreed for 20 million with Wolfsburg in the summer?
I think he was.
And it fell through.
I think he wanted to go back to Canada, his home country, isn't it? I think that's his home country.
I thought he was American.
Is he? Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. They'll definitely could do with him, but whatever their internal reasons. But if you look at they have made some decent signings in January as well. They bought in a 21-year-old centre forward, Mohamed Touré. From Randers, that's the Danish league. That for rumoured 3 million. Ali Ahmed, he looks half decent. He's came in from Vancouver, a left midfielder for 2 million. And also Paris Magoma, they bought him from Brentford for the typical undisclosed fee. Harry Amas has come in on loan, and so's Sam Field. Harry Amas was on loan at Sheffield Wednesday first half of the season.
Yeah.
Now he's at Norwich, and Sam Field they got on loan from QPR. So there's some good players that they've added as well.
You've slightly gone over one for me there. I think Anis Ben Slimani is a great player.
Yeah.
In fact, hasn't he put 4 or 5 past West Brom in the past 2 times they've met? He's really found his scoring boots. He's a good player. He's their number 10. So he's their kind of creative engine going forward. He's just someone I've picked out as a particular highlight who we have to watch, because again, I think sometimes Blues, we can look vulnerable between that defensive midfield and defensive part of the game. So just need to be wary of his runs, his ability to score and put one past you. But yeah, Slimani for me is a good player. We need to watch him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's good players all through that team now. They've got experience as well, haven't they? With Kenny McLean and Sam Field, they're 60s. They're in their midfield. They're flying left and right backs as well. Fisher on the right, and I think it's Crisene on the left. And I say Slimani is their number 10, and Touré is the out-and-out sort of striker, and obviously they're making it work for him as well at the moment.
Yeah.
And of course they've got good midfielders in there, and that's just that was just the start. The players I've mentioned there were the ones that were in their starting lineup against Oxford, but the players on the bench that they've got as well to bring on if they need to. I mean, obviously we're not even mentioning the lots of Harry Amas, which we mentioned, is not even in that starting lineup. Yeah. Harry Darling, he went to Norwich in the.
He's been on the bench a lot recently. He has.
Yeah, well, I think that's because it's Cordoba and McConville have been their sort of outstanding, I believe, centre half, and also as well you've got Kifsgarden as well. They brought him in the summer.
Paid a lot of money for him.
Yeah, they did. So a good side, Matt, and one that's in good form. I think this is going to be a good game. This one.
I think so. I think this is going to be a really tight match.
Yeah, I think they'll be slight favourites because they're the home team and because they're in such hot form.
And because of our away form.
Yeah.
Minus Oxford and Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, well, we won our last 2, but they were against the bottom 2, weren't they, in the league? But you know what? You've still got to win them.
Of course you have.
So let's get on to the Blues team, Matt. And
Do you want me to take you through the team, Dad, and then you sort of do yours? So, okay. So a lot of people were praising Allsop against Leeds, Dad, and I agree. He did have a fantastic game. But I'm going to go off the back of what I think Chris Davies is going to pick. And I think he's going to prefer Beadle for the league because that seems to be his setup, doesn't it? But if Allsop can put regular performances like he did against Leeds, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be chomping at the bit of, chomping at the ankles of Beadle for sure. I've gone for Beadle. I think Chris Davies will stick with him. I've gone for Wagner left back. I've gone for Panzo left side of centre back. Clara right side of centre back, and Asoy Samuel right back. I've gone for Solis and Doyle in the centre mids. I've gone for Dimmy back on the left. I've gone for Stansfield in the 10 because I thought he did well against Leeds there.
Oh, okay.
I've gone for Vicente back on the right because I think Patrick Roberts played all the way until the penalty shootout. I know he came on, but Vicente's going to have a little bit more energy in the legs, and I've gone for Priska starting up front.
Okay, slightly different to my team. That's an interesting team. So obviously got no Dutch in there?
No.
Okay.
Stansfield for me takes that number 10.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think, Dad, with Priska in the 9, it gives us a different style of play and outlet. We can go a little bit more direct when the game needs it to. If we don't have Priska on there, who are we lumping it up to? You know, I mean, you get frustrated with Beadle's kicks and it goes to no one. Priska gives us a bit of a target. So
yeah, but you're going to need an Allsop in goal to find him because Beadle won't.
that's a good point.
Because this is the problem with Beadle, isn't it? His distribution has not been very good, and if you put a target man up there, he's got to hit him. But the problem is his kicks either go out or they go to the other goalkeeper. But I agree with you. I think that Beadle is Chris Davis's first choice, number one. Allsop put a massive case to be picked in the Leeds performance. I'd like to see Allsop start, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I would as well.
I'd like to see Allsop start.
I don't think he will, but I think I'd like to see it.
It's the same as you. I've gone for Beadle on the basis Chris Davis was picking, but I hope Allsop gets the start. But it's down to Chris Davis. I've gone for the same back line as you, apart from the right back. So I've gone for Wagner at left back. Panzo, I think, really good against Leeds and deserves to start on the left side of the centre half with Clara. But I've gone for what I know there's a possibility.
He's injured, isn't he?
Well, Chris Davis said there weren't major injuries, and I think he might have been cautious with him for the Leeds game. And I think, do you know what? If Iwata wakes up with the pulse, he's playing.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. So I have gone for Iwata.
I don't think Asoi Samuel's done much wrong though.
Yeah, he's had phases where he's been absolutely excellent, and he's maybe he deserves his chance. But I think if Iwata's fit, he'll play him. That's why I've picked him. I've gone for Doyle and Solis in the sixes. I've gone for Gray on the left. I have still gone for Roberts. I like your argument about Vicente though. The fact that Roberts played a lot of the game against Leeds. But I've gone.
And he also played the extra time element to the game. He missed his penalty. Well, that's not me saying that's a negative. It's just a point that he got all the way to the last kick.
Yeah, I mean, it really is with them two. It's a toss.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
But I've got a plump for Roberts to start. But I've gone for Dutch in the 10 and Stansfield in the 9. Yeah. But I also agree with you. But I don't see the point in putting a big target man like Priske on if we can't get the ball to him, because I noticed in the Leeds game. Sorry, Matt. But I noticed in the Leeds game that was a tactic. Allsop was targeting Priske for,
and maybe that might mean Allsop starts against Norwich if Chris Davies was happy with what he saw in Priske. I think Priske should be our starting away striker every time because it allows us to be a bit more direct when we need to. It gives us a different outlet, and we need something different away from home. Priske gives us that. So I'm going to stick by my guns on that one and think Priske should start. And again, I don't think Stansfield should be subbed because of his energy, but he was cramping up against Leeds, Dad. He ran himself ragged. So we might see Dutch in the 10 and Stansford on the bench just off the back of fitness and levels. Who knows? But
it's also worth mentioning as well, Matt, that we've got a game in midweek after this as well. So that could really go into Chris Davis thinking as well about how he's going to, because I mean, there's certain positions where you could, like, if you wanted to, you could play either Gray for one half, Osman for the second half. You could do the same for Roberts and Vicente. So you could, I'm not saying you do that, by the way. I'm saying there's options to do that if you want to think about future games. But I think if a player's playing well, he should stay on, because Chris Davis has got to manage their fitness there and all those levels. So that's the team I've gone for. So
still very similar.
It is quite.
And also,
similar.
Dad, if your team turns up, I'll still be thrilled. That's where we are now with Blues, isn't it? No matter what team you pick, really. The idea of Osman or Dimmy on the left, Vicente or Roberts on the right, Priske or Stansfield up top, or Dutch or Stansfield in the 10. It's like we are in a good position at the minute, Dad. So I feel like no matter what team turns up, we're gonna have a good battle and a good game on Saturday. But yeah, that's my thoughts, and I think I've kind of based it off what I think Davis will pick more so I guess than what I think. But that's my sort of thoughts. So score prediction then, Dad. You go first.
Okay, I've gone for goals. So I've gone for. Because they're in such hot form, I mean, I think we can edge this, but I have gone slightly cautious. I've gone for a 2-2 draw, but I think it is a game that it literally is going to hinge on that mistake. That maybe that bad poor decision. It's going to be that close because the teams are in such similar type of form. Norwich are a good side. Let's make no bones about that. But I'm going for get a point, which I think a point away at Norwich at the moment would be a half decent result.
Yeah.
So I've gone 2-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if we could edge this as well.
Yeah, I've gone similar to you. That I've gone for a point as well. I've gone for slightly less goals. I've gone for 1-1.
Okay.
Seems to be maybe that's me having a bit of a cop out actually. 1-1 seems to be our most popular scoreline this season, I'd say, especially over the Christmas period at home. But yeah, I do think. As I agree, I do think that we have enough to win this and edge this, but I am edging slightly on the side of caution just because them finding form, Clement putting his impact on the team. Yeah, his stamp on the team, that's a good way of putting it. And a bit more cautious. So I've gone for 1-1 draw. But either way, Dad, I think this has all the makings to be a very good game of football. You watch, two teams will cancel each other out and it'll be boring as hell.
Well, I'm more confident going into an away game now than I was before Christmas.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to it.
Same.
Very,
yeah,
very
we'll be
much,
there.
yeah.
We'll be there. And looking forward to it, Dad. Long way, 2.5 hours, I think it is, Norwich. But look forward to these away games very much so.
Yeah, me too.
But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we would love to hear from you. And Norwich supporters as well. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We are a family podcast, so please keep those comments respectful and clean. We'd really appreciate it. But if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also over on Spotify, so you can watch us or listen to us over there. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell icon so you get notified every time we post. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.